What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rebel Yankee Podcast. I'm your host, Jan Backus. Joining me in the studio today is a good friend of mine, Justin Bearden. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
At the Rebel Yankee Podcast, it's God first, guts and guns. We're going to get into who you are and what you do, Justin, but first we got some kingdom business to take care of.
Let's do it.
And I'd like to thank everybody for all their support. We released episode 1 last Sunday. And, obviously friends and family listen, and it was cool. I got some really good feedback. One comment was like, wow, that helped me with something this week. Another comment was, that blessed me. But probably one of the coolest things is at work, I talked about crumble cookies, and I know that sounds so funny, but I can't remember if it was Monday, Tuesday. Literally, the enemy sent crumble cookies to the office, and I was standing firm, and I was asking my buddies, hey, you gonna get some of that crumble cookies? They're like, nope, I listen to the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stand firm. So that was pretty cool. Justin, how do you feel that God has been moving in your life this week, and what are you doing to put him first?
This week, so I've been going through a commentary book on the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel.
Nice.
So that's the story of David into King David and his family and all that. And it's been not easy to get application out of it, like everyday application. It's been very interesting. I love history and kings and kingdoms and wars and all that stuff interests me. I think he's been really just kind of walking with me and exciting me through his word. And the biggest thing that I take away every morning after I read is that, man, that God that did all that stuff with all those people, used those people, that's the exact same God that is walking with me today. And that's just so encouraging to know that. And
Love that.
To him, for us, it's a long time ago. To him, it's he knew me on the day that the sea was parted, the day that he anointed David to be the king over Israel, all that stuff. He knew me in that moment, and he knew the relationship that we were going to have. And so that's always very encouraging for me.
That is so cool. Who wrote the commentary book?
A woman. So it was given to me by one of the guys at our church.
Okay.
And it's a woman. I think she might be British.
Okay.
Just from some of the stuff that I've picked up on, or the publisher might be British or something like that, but I don't really know anything about her. Other than that, it's a woman.
And a good book.
And it's a good book. It's not, it's not always the easiest. It's honestly been kind of a struggle. And it's the first commentary book that I've read in a really long time. But the scripture is so interesting. And so you'll read maybe one chapter, and it's almost like this really long, drawn out commercial break that you have to go on. You read this awesome story that just took place and saw how God was moving, and then now it's like, okay, it's like 5:00 in the morning, and I've got to read 3 or 4 pages of breaking down this last chapter, and I don't really want to do it, but I always walk away from it feeling like immersed in the scripture.
It's pretty crazy when you start like peeling the layers back, how deep it goes. And I experienced some of that this week. Biggest thing for me this week, as far as putting God first, I was definitely in prayer more, trying to be very conscious of bringing God everywhere with me, which I'm not used to. Been more patient, less judgmental, more loving to those around me, most of the time at work. Sometimes it's hard. One thing I am very aware of is I need to start standing firm on not cussing.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. And some people say it's not bad, and kind of like, well, I talked about it before, good or bad, it's not for me. And I feel convicted to stop, but I'm not doing a very good job on it. But I am aware, so that's something I've been working on. And probably the most amazing thing this week, as far as putting God first and bringing him into all I do, is diving into the verses this week and going deeper and wanting more. Has just been amazing, trying to be prepared for this podcast. At one point during the week, I just felt I felt overcome with like this deep joy and happiness. And I believe it was from studying these verses and going deeper into them. And then I just kind of felt filled with the Holy Spirit. And I'm excited to share what I learned with everybody this week. It's pretty cool. So, disclaimer, as a reminder, I'm just a dude that loves the Lord. I encourage everybody to open up their Bibles for themselves and dig into these verses and see what they mean to you. Your sin's no sinner than my sin. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself more, if anything. I'm not perfect by any means. And even when I say that I do things, I'm not perfect at doing them. It's how do you say it? It's something you just got to work on all the time. So, Justin, do you know what a anchor verse is? Or what do you think of when I say anchor verse?
Yeah. I mean, just from the context, I would probably say just a verse that you have kind of tattooed on your heart that you always can lean on. Maybe you found a verse that just you feel like applies to every situation that you go through. And like for me, I always go back to Colossians 3.
Okay.
I love that whole chapter. And every time I'm feeling, down or overwhelmed or anxious or whatever, that's a great verse for me to go to. But
do you know it?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory.
Amen. I like that. So yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail right on the head. An anchor verse, some people will call them like coffee mug verses. You know what I mean? Like, I could do anything through,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, those are anchor verses. And one of my anchor verses is 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And I knew you were coming on the show today, and I'm like, oh, this is my shooting buddy, and we're on this church safety team together, and we're not fearful. And, I just thought it would be a good verse for us. But when you go back and you read the context that verse was written in, it changed everything. I mean, it's still super powerful, but, even my shirt, we could call the name of this podcast, this week's episode, Faith Over Fear, because that's what that verse, on the surface means to me is have faith, not fear. Put your faith in the right things and not be fearful. And, I'm not scared of anything type deal, right? My shirt doesn't even have the whole verse on it. It just says, for God did not give us a spirit of fear. And that's all it says, right? And that's been an anchor verse for me for a long time. And I just accepted it, and I never really dove into it, even though I've read it in the Bible a few times. So digging deeper into this, once again, I'll read the verse. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. And that's the ESV version. The NIV version says, for the Spirit of God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think they use that word, the word timid is a better description of Timothy at the time. It wasn't that he was so fearful, but he was He wasn't very outgoing compared to Paul, who's this fierce leader, and he's trying to like get Timothy riled up. Like, hey, bud, like you need to step up your game. I'm about to pass this off to you. You can't be timid. You need to be powerful.
Yeah. Paul is an absolute animal. My favorite story of him is when he gets bit by a snake and rebukes the snake.
Right. I've heard it said cowardice and timidity are not God-given traits. So let's get into the background of this a little bit. So this was the last letter that Paul wrote before he was killed. And the verbiage of these verses indicate that he knew it, the verses before what I'm talking about. And he's trying to get Timothy riled up. And Timothy came from a godly grandmother and a godly mother, right? But it doesn't say anything about his father. So I wonder where Timothy's dad was. And the fact that he's not in the picture maybe is why Timothy was timid. But it turns out his father was Greek and just not a believer. But still, he's not having that male leadership role for, a spirit in being spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Timothy was actually overseeing the church of Ephesus, which was a great responsibility. So some people think that, he wasn't necessarily like fearful. He was a man of normal courage, but the responsibility of overseeing the church of Ephesus was so great, he just didn't seem like the guy. And this is what Paul was trying to get him to do, is just really, rise up and become this fierce leader like himself. So we're going to work backwards though. So there's 2 Timothy 1:7, but 2 Timothy 1:6 puts this into perspective. And it says, for this reason, and meaning that your mom and your grandmother were godly with great faith, and so will you be. For this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you, though, through the laying of my hands. And again, that's 2 Timothy 1:6, okay? And that's the NIV version. Fan into flame, right? So think about it. An unintended fire is always going to go out, right? If you have a fire that's smoldering and you don't fan it into a flame, it goes out eventually, right?
Yeah.
So what this means is the gift is already in you. People are waiting for like this grandiose event for them to be like anointed and given some spiritual gift. But God's already given these gifts to us, and it's up to us to fan them into flame, if that makes sense, right? You want to stir it up. Don't be lukewarm, right?
Yep.
Take action and use the gifts that are already in you. You may be ignoring your gift and you're waiting to wake up one morning and speak tongues or something, you know what I mean? Or to be able to prophesy. And it's like, you already have your gifts. You may just not be using them.
Yeah. So what does that look like to you in your life?
Well, I've gone through different seasons in my life where I'm pretty outgoing and feeling like God's using me or I'm using myself, or, I'm living up to my capabilities, so to speak. This podcast, for example, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. Trevor and Kay Miller, the producers of this show, they talk about the imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, I've had a little bit of that going on with the podcast, but then after getting a little bit of feedback from episode 1, I'm like, wow, this actually affected people in a positive way. That empowered me to do it some more. So that's an example I could give you now. Is podcasting a spiritual gift? I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm gifted with my firearms instruction. Is that spiritual? I don't know that, but it is a gift.
Well, you make it spiritual. You make anything spiritual when you make it about God.
If you bring God into it and put him first.
And I love the hats. Right. I love the patches, like get the company name. think it's first and foremost, it puts God at the forefront of it. And that doesn't mean that you're out there preaching, at the range or whatever, but it plants that seed of like, hey, this is what we're about here at Full Armor. And so, yeah.
Yeah. When I rebranded, right. Cause my company used to be called Conceal One, and I almost wore a Conceal One hat today cause it matched my shirt, but
that matches too.
It does. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I have a matching hat, but I just felt like, how is this business, bringing God into it at all, So I rebranded it to Full Armor, but then I had like this feeling like, okay, so you have a scripture name, you have a name that came out of scripture, it's faith-based, but what are you doing? So I do try to, and I didn't do it my last class, and I regret it because I forgot because it's kind of new, but I've been trying to pray before class, and
I think that's great.
Yeah, and do things like that. So let's go back to 2 Timothy 1:7. Now that we know a little bit of the background with Paul and his protege Timothy and what they're trying to do, and Timothy is gifted, but Paul feels he's not using that gift. 2 Timothy 1:7 again says, "For God gave us the spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." Right? So what we learn here, what I learned this week, right, is fear is not from God. So when we're feeling fearful, we don't need to accept that because we know it didn't come from the Lord. That's coming from somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yep. And when we, the next part of the verse, but of power, right? When we do things that's lined up with God and we represent him correctly and we represent the kingdom correctly, we have his power. So fear is not from him. And if we're doing things that line up with his kingdom and represent him well, we have his power. And then in love, are we doing these things in the spirit of love, right, for others?
Yeah.
And then when it talks about self-control can be translated into a sound mind, which is the opposite of the frame of mind you're in when you're fearful, panicking, or confused. So yeah, that's this anchor verse where I thought it was just going to be like this cool, like, hey, we're tough dudes, turned into a real spiritual learning moment for me this week where I was able to dive in, and I just felt like I wanted more, and, reading different commentaries and watching different YouTube videos, and just, I got in there. So
yeah, I have been telling my daughter this a lot. She's about to be 4 in a couple of months. And it's weird. It seems like when she was younger, like around 2, she wasn't timid about anything with like slides at the playground or dogs or anything like that. But now she's getting older. She's a lot more timid and a lot more fearful. And so my wife and I have really this past couple of months have been trying to speak truth to her. We had her dedicated at church recently and just kind of took on the responsibility of growing a Christian in our family. And so, yeah, I'll say that a lot of times, like, hey, God didn't give us a spirit of fear.
right.
I don't say like the whole scripture verbatim, but I just wanted to know, like, I know you're afraid right now, but God didn't give us a spirit of fear.
Right. That's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. Well, since you mentioned your daughter, let's jump into, unless you had anything to add to that scripture or anything.
No, it's a great verse, great song that Red Rocks did with it. Super encouraging. So
awesome. Justin, you are a son of a king, a husband, a father, former sergeant in the U.S. Army.
Correct.
A service lead for Red Rocks community or Red Rocks Church on the security team.
Yep.
And my shooting partner.
Yes. Also volunteer RSO.
Yes.
For Full Armor.
Free labor.
When I'm able to, just because, you say it's free, but for me, it's just a way that I get to hang out around guns. And also it's great to always keep up to date on the laws and all that stuff.
Sure. We actually had a face-off after the last class.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we had a little competition. It was 15 yards. We were shooting a hostage target. So it's a steel silhouette with, I don't know if that's a 3-inch or a 4-inch flipper.
Probably 4.
It's probably 4-inch, right? Who makes a 3-inch? That would be weird.
Yeah.
And we both went 10 for 10.
Yes.
So we'll have to have another competition after the next class that we're at together.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
Training with you definitely has pushed me to be a better shooter.
And you pushed me to train. So it's a give and take.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. You're the guy that's always like, we need to go to the range. Okay. So that's awesome. All right, Justin, you mentioned your daughter, but tell us a little bit about your family.
So the Beardens, we say that a lot in our house. The Beardens, we like to instill our values, or we like to speak our values to each other out loud. So we'll say, the Beardens are nice to people. It's really for our daughter, but it's also I don't know how that started. Sorry, I'm kind of rabbit trailing.
Great.
But my wife said something like, what is our family values or something? It was a couple years ago. And I said, well, the Beardens strive to be on time to places. the Beardens.
Was that the first one?
Yeah.
That's funny.
The Beardens. And it's mainly stuff from my childhood. I grew up in a pretty strict household, but it's like the Beardens, it's also stuff that we want to represent as we go out into the world. Like the Beardens, I always tell my daughter this, the Beardens always leave something better than it was when we got there.
I love that.
Just like stuff that that my dad used to tell me all the time. The Beardens do things right the first time. So anyways, my wife is a functional medicine nurse practitioner.
Okay.
She's from Hawaii. I'm from Texas. We met in Washington State. I was stationed there, and she was there working at a doctor's office, just getting some freedom for her own life. And we met, and everything started to happen pretty fast after that. Kalia, our daughter, is going to be 4, like I said. So
awesome. Yep, you have a beautiful family. Your daughter is always in high spirits.
Well, yeah, not always.
When I see her at church, right?
Yeah.
And she does competitive dance.
She does. She's a dancer. I think we're going to take this next year off. It's a lot. Dancing for a studio like that and going to compete is very, very expensive and strenuous. But we had fun this year for all the stress that we went through. It was really fun to see her on stage.
Now, was it stressful for her or just mom and dad?
I think in a sense it could be stressful for everybody because it's definitely stressful for us, but she had fun with it, but there's also keeping a toddler or a 3-year-old kind of entertained and contained for a whole day like that outside of the home is always kind of strenuous on everybody. And I'm sure she felt some of that friction as well. And, with dance, for me, it's like, it's hard to tell at that age, do they really love this? Because for me, I'm pretty sure my daughter over anything else would choose to just be at a playground.
Right.
Right. So it's like, what are we really doing here?
That's fair.
Is this for us or for her?
Okay.
And a part of it is for me because from the moment I found out that I was going to be a dad was like, okay, when are we competing? Who are we competing against? And it's funny because we landed on this thing dance, and it's like, so there is a lot of supportive dance dads there, but I'm like all about it, and it's such like a feminine deal. But I love it. I mean, I love pushing her to compete, and it might be premature. I
Right.
think it's a little bit premature, but I just want her to be passionate about something.
Yeah, I think that's important, for them to. I feel, maybe 4 is a little young, right? But, by 6, I
Yeah.
feel like they should be dedicated to something that they don't always want to go do,
Right.
but they feel the satisfaction of being disciplined, and they learn that, like, oh, wow, this is hard work, but this is what it feels like to benefit from being disciplined at it, whether it be
Yeah.
dance or jujitsu or, whatever it is, baseball, football, whatever it is, I feel that that's important.
Yeah.
So good
Absolutely.
job. Good job. How long have you been a believer, and when did you come to Christ?
So, like I said, I was raised in a pretty conservative Baptist home. Not that those two things always go hand in hand, but that's just was my situation growing up in Texas, right outside of Dallas. So I was born into the church, went to the same church until I grew up and moved away. I think the first time I accepted Christ, I was probably about 7 or 8, vacation Bible school. And, that was probably the first time I chose for myself, that I want to do this. And it's hard when you grow up like that because when it's forced on you, like I had to be in church every Sunday, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, like anything that my youth group was doing, I was there. So it does get kind of complicated as you grow up. You grow up in church and then you have your friends at school and you kind of start to go the way of the world, right? You want to be cool. You want to, start talking to girls. You want to do all this stuff that doesn't align with scripture. And you're so young that you I don't know. My relationship with God has kind of been a roller coaster. It's been on and off throughout most of my life. I moved away to live and work in Dallas, and was always kind of trying to get back to God. And then I joined the military, and after that, I was pretty much just running as fast as I could away from God for that time of my life, that season. And my wife got pregnant with our child, and we decided that we were going to start a family. And I think we both knew, because we had both been exposed to church and to God. And I think we both knew that if we were going to make this work, that it wasn't going to be us. We needed God, and not only God, but we needed people to come alongside of us to help us grow and to help us with our family. For me, it was the biggest thing for me was like, I'm a very firm believer that if you want to get better at something, you need to be around people who are better than you at it. So if I want to be a good husband and a good father, I need to get into a community and surround myself with men who have done that and are much better at it than I am and can help me to grow in those areas. So we found Red Rocks Church a couple of years ago, and that was pretty automatic that we felt at home there after several years of visiting churches. So
Nice. Now you mentioned the Army, and I had mentioned earlier you were a sergeant in the Army. Tell us a little bit about your military career, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you for your support.
You're welcome.
And your service also.
Oh, thank you for your support.
Yeah, so 2017, I was about 25 years old. I had a great job at the airline. I had my dream job. I planned to stay there for forever, basically. But I was partying a lot and hanging out with the wrong people and ended up losing that job, and said, well, I've kind of been kicking myself for never going in. So this is the time to go and see really like what I'm made of, what I can accomplish. So I enlisted as an infantryman in the Army. I was gone to basic training about 2 months after I lost that job, and joining at that age at 25, 26. I was 26 when I got out of basic training. I mean, it's so easy. Like it really is, people say this like in the military, all you have to do is be at the right place at the right time in the right uniform. And if you've already been living by yourself and like, that if you don't pay your bills, things are going to happen. You have to go to work, like, you have to be places on time. If you have all that already, then you pretty much just get promoted pretty quickly. And I did. So most of my time in the Army, I was a squad leader for a mortar squad, mortar crew, and a mortar platoon. Specialized in that, and spent about 3.5 years at Fort Lewis in Washington State. That's where I met my wife. That's one of the fondest times of my life that I like to look back to. I met some friends there who will probably never lose touch with them. And re-enlisted when my time was up. Re-enlisted for Fort Carson, Colorado Springs, and kind of finished out my career there. Didn't really like the way some things were going, but it was a good experience. I'm grateful for it. Taught me a lot about, really just came out of it with a mentality that I can actually do anything I want to do if I just apply myself enough.
Can we dig a little deeper into your first unit? You told me some things earlier about they were blacklisted. Are we able to talk about that?
Yeah, we can. There was just there was an incident with some soldiers on deployment, went on like a killing spree in the town in whatever country they were in. And I'm not really sure. There's kind of a lot of mystique around it, but basically I ended up, my first duty station, I ended up at a unit that was non-deployable.
Non-deployable. That's what I meant. Blacklisted.
So we train. It makes it sound cooler if you say blacklisted. But,
it did sound like, whoa.
I mean, I don't know everything that went into it. They basically absorbed that whole unit and just had it as like a training unit. So we were in the field a lot. We would go out for a month to train, come back, and have a month at home, and then go out for a month, come back for a month. And it was like that for like a year.
Wow. So 6 months out in the field.
Yeah, it was great though. It was great training.
Like camping trip?
Not as cush.
Right.
Not as easy as going camping.
Sure. How much did your packs weigh? Like how much weight did you have to schlep around with you?
Yeah, usually if you're training, usually around anywhere between 30 and 50 pounds. But if you're as a mortarman, well, pretty much as infantry, you always have to carry some type of weapon system. So even if you're not a mortarman, you could be a 240 gunner or a 249 gunner. You're carrying ammo, you're carrying the mortar cannon, the base plate, rounds for the mortar stuff, and then whatever else, basically whatever the platoon, like everybody's carrying something extra, and it could easily get up to about 70 pounds.
Wow.
So
70 is a lot of weight.
I was in a striker unit. So the strikers are vehicles, not like tanks, but they're kind of built like tanks. They have armor, but they have 4 wheels on each side. They're actually pretty sweet vehicles. The suspension system is adaptable. So if you're in like deep sand, you can adjust for that. If you're in snow, you can adjust for that, deflate the tires. If one tire gets blown out, then all the other tires will push air into it. Like they're pretty cool.
That is cool.
But the good thing was that, you didn't, when you were training, you didn't have to walk that far because we weren't a light unit. We were a mechanized unit.
Got it. Very cool. And then your second unit that you were deployed to, or that you were assigned to, you said things were going on you didn't really like, or can you get into that a little bit?
I don't really want to.
No? Okay.
It wasn't a good experience.
Gotcha.
And I'm proud of my time there because I went in, and it's a big thing too if you're an NCO, which is a non-commissioned officer, so like a sergeant or any type of sergeant. You want to go, your goal should be any unit that you go to, any personnel that you're in charge of, any job you have, you want to leave it better than it was when you got there. And I really think I tried my best, and I did that with the squad that I had in that platoon that I was in at Fort Carson.
Nice. I believe it. Your character it's above board. You talked about, one of your family values is being on time. I don't think you've ever been late to anything we've done.
I was stressing getting over to your house for this thing because my ETA on my phone said 1600, and I was like, that's not on time. That's late because you said 1600 be there.
Yeah, taillights at 1600. You were there at 1600.
I know, and I was late. And I was kicking myself.
Man.
But no, it was. I got to train with some really, really like cool individuals. Like when I was at Fort Lewis, 2nd Ranger Battalion is also stationed at Fort Lewis. So a lot of times they would need to train for a deployment that they're going on, and they would pull us out to kind of play the bad guys. And we would use chalk rounds or sim rounds, a little bit more painful than airsoft, but we would basically just shoot each other. And one of my platoon sergeants was he was a platoon sergeant who grew up in Ranger Battalion, and he had us doing it's called SRM, short range marksmanship, and that's like all of the shooting and moving stuff, and that was some of the best training that I ever had.
Awesome.
That's also where I learned that gunfighting training actually sucks. It's not fun at all. It's very brutal on your body, and it's a lot of hard work.
Yep. Yeah, you showed me some things, with the AR-15, some, what do you call them, ready ups?
Yeah, ready ups and just moving different directions and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay, the way you and I met was on our church safety team.
Yep.
How long have you been involved in church safety? And
do you remember, so before we do that, do you actually remember the very first time that we spoke to each other? I was thinking about that this week.
I don't remember clearly. Were you serving?
Yes.
Okay, and did I just walk by you and say, "Hey, thanks for being here" or something?
No. There was a man in the auditorium that we were watching.
Oh.
And I hadn't met you yet. I was standing on the back wall of the auditorium, and the safety team was communicating about it. And you just walked up and you were like, "Hey man, are we watching this guy? Like, do we feel comfortable about this?" I was just like, "Yeah, no, we're tracking, we're talking and paying attention, but thank you." And then after that, I was like, "Oh, dude, that guy's he's down for it."
That's funny.
Yeah,
that does ring a bell. Yeah. So,
but that was before we officially met.
Well, I wasn't on the team.
Yeah.
I was on a break from the team. I was, I was on my sabbatical, I guess, and and then I joined back up, and you were still on the team, and you become a really good friend of mine. Definitely love serving with you. Your attention to detail is something the team needs, and you've pointed things out to me where it's like, hey, make sure we're checking that, and that's like underneath the stage. And you do a really good job. You're super organized. So why is church safety on your heart, and why are you on the team?
So when we came to Red Rocks Church, obviously it does feel big. It feels overwhelming at first. And people kept saying, oh, the best way to make a big church feel small is to serve, join a serve team. And I never really thought about like church security, or protecting houses of worship. Never thought about that. And I was talking to this guy, Logan, Chet's son-in-law, and he mentioned something about it. And he said, oh yeah, we go out, we do training, and we train with the police department sometimes, and we have CCWs. And I was like, oh, so there's a group in the church that likes guns. That's probably where I should be if I want to like meet people and get plugged in. Yeah. So it was automatic. After that, I told my wife, I was like, babe, there's a team of guys that just carry guns at the church, and that's what they do. That's what they do to serve.
Right.
So
I'm in.
Yeah. And plus, it was nice for me to coming out of the infantry environment. It's not all like you don't feel that like usefulness anymore. It's like I have training and stuff, and but what am I doing with it now? So to be able to like kind of bring that stuff out into the world as a way to serve the Lord and serve the people of the church has been really cool.
I love it. Would you, and I've used this term with you before, do you consider yourself sold out for Jesus?
I do.
You are, for sure.
Am
I love that. Yeah. You always bring God up, and you always line up with the Lord, and I really love that. So
it's interesting. You were talking about fanning the flame earlier, and for me, I think kind of the turning point in my walk. So I know you know this, but just for everybody else, I went to a men's conference called Marked Men for Christ this year at the beginning of January, and that was a life-changing experience. The Holy Spirit, he grabbed a hold of me, shook me, and brought me back to the flock. And after that, the turning point of kind of when I started to fan the flame, I was, I kind of make friends wherever I go. I make relationships, like to network. I don't mind talking to people. And I just said, I have relationships that aren't about God. I have relationships with non-believers, and this is how they see me. They don't see me as a believer, and that needs to change. And, if I can't sit, like if me and you can go to the bar or whatever and grab a beer, like that's fine. I'm fine with that. But if we're not talking about God, then, we're not bettering each other, So I think I really started to fan that flame of like, I want to water these relationships, like you, sure. Josiah, Chet, Spencer. These are all guys that we go to church with that I know are like way further along in their walk than me. And just knowing that I can call them up, anything we do, I can just automatically talk about what God's doing in my life. Yeah. That's the relationships that I want to pour water into.
Yeah, interesting. I meant to bring this up earlier, but the verse, when they talk about, for God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control, I also feel that has to do with speaking about God.
Yes,
like
100%.
Unashamedly making people know that you are all about Christ. You have nothing to fear in doing that.
Yeah.
And you need to be bold, but do it in love, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's cool. All right. What do you do currently for fitness and to remain dangerous to the enemy?
So I'm not in the gym as much as you are, as much as I should be. I was pushing a lot of weight when I was at like the height of my military career. I got out. I took like a year and a half off, almost 2 years, just not doing anything to work out. And I regret that. But then I got back in and started having problems with my wrists, my elbows, all this stuff started to come up. So it's been a gradual, very slow, trying to get back to where I was. I think my PR on bench was 295, and like right now I probably could lift 225 like a few times, but I know you're not all about the bench press stuff. I need to be doing more like functional cardio stuff. I know that stuff is important. I just hate it so much.
One thing that you do though is you go on rucks with 50 pounds.
Yeah, I do a ruck every Friday morning. I hate that. Hate it. I do that. I do a lot of skateboarding. So I love to be outside and I love to like play. Like I'll go on a bike ride. I like hiking, climbing 14ers, doing stuff that's fun. But I'm taking a break right now for some elbow issues, but definitely want to get back at it after a couple weeks.
Outside of your elbow issues, you and your family actually have a gym day, don't you?
Yeah, we go. Well, that's kind of been changed around with my wife's schedule. We were going on like Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays and Saturdays because they have at VASA, they have childcare there. But it's kind of just day to day at this point. I'll probably still go. I think she has to work late on those nights now, so I'll probably just go Monday, Tuesday, maybe Thursday.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Still, your daughter will go with you, and
yeah, she goes to the little kids area.
Right.
They have people there to watch them, and she'll play and stuff.
What I like about that, even though she's going into kids care and playing with other kids, you guys are going to the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
You're already showing her like fitness is going to be a part. The Beardens stay fit.
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah,
try to. Absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
It's always, dude. I think I try to get down on myself because I always look at other people, and it's so easy to compare yourself. Be like, oh, I'm not as fit as I should be. It's honestly, dude, it's kind of like our walk with Christ. Like we have our entire life to continue to get better, and every single day is going to be a struggle. If you make the choice to not eat the crumble cookie, but you don't go to the gym for whatever reason, it's not a total loss. You prioritized your health over eating, over giving into the flesh in that moment, but then you just kind of petered out at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I talked about that on episode 1. Like you can't be somebody else's very best. You got to be your own very best.
Yeah.
And we're not always at our very best, but I feel like we should always strive to be our very best,
Yeah.
physically, spiritually, like all of it. There's a difference between like stumbling, and falling and, having a bad week in the gym or not going and just not trying.
Right.
Or if you have, as you get older, you have these nagging injuries that
I've got them already.
Yeah. So it's like, trying to work around injuries and stuff like that. There are reasons to not go to the gym if it's going to cause more damage than good, but finding something else to do, like still going on your rucks, which you hate every Friday with 50 pounds. How many miles is that?
We do it for time. We just do 45 minutes, but it usually ends up being like 3.12 or something. So probably like a 5K.
Okay. With 50 pounds on your back, or a weighted vest.
I just use a vest.
Yeah. I'd use my hunting pack.
You can use whatever you want. And then even too, if you like, you can show up and just not have anything and just go for the walk. I think for me, it's more about like the discipline of waking up at 3:00 because we meet at 4:15.
Right.
And I like to shower before I do anything else. So I have to get up at 3.
Gotcha. The Bearden stay clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one thing you wanted to talk about when I mentioned bringing you on the podcast is firearm safety in the home with little ones, or a little one, or a wife and a kid, or stuff like that. So I do want to talk about that, but before we get into it, I want to talk about the laws in Colorado in regard to keeping your guns out of minors' hands.
Okay.
Okay. So Per Colorado Revised Statute 251-131, Colorado state law requires that firearms be responsibly and securely stored when they're not in use to prevent access by unsupervised juveniles and other unauthorized users. Unlawful storage of firearms is a Class 2 misdemeanor.
Okay.
Right? So not only are you a responsible gun owner and you want to keep your family safe, but there are laws now here in Colorado that dictate what's going to happen if you don't.
Yeah. I mean, I adhere to that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's outrageous or anything.
It's not. Unlawfully providing a handgun to a juvenile or permitting a juvenile to possess a handgun is a Class 4 felony. Unlawfully providing a firearm other than a handgun to a juvenile is a Class 1 misdemeanor. So rifles aren't as bad as handguns. Okay. Additionally, licensed firearm retailers are required to post a notice of this requirement and provide locking mechanisms with each firearm transfer. Violation is a Class 2 misdemeanor with penalties of imprisonment or a fine up to $500. Right? So basically, if you're not securing your firearms properly and your daughter or another juvenile, right, anybody under 18 years old gets a hold of it, you've committed a crime.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. I noticed you didn't bring your box with you.
I didn't know I was supposed to.
I thought you said you were gonna.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I dropped the ball.
Okay. Well, tell us.
I mean, it's if you look at guns on Instagram, you've probably seen the ads for
Stopbox.
Yeah, they were all over my feed, the advertisements, until they finally got me.
Gotcha.
And the reason I finally broke down and decided to get one is because we had an incident not too long ago where someone got into my locker at the gym, and for whatever reason, they took the electric key fob that opens my apartment door.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like late at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night. So I wasn't able to go to the front desk and have them shut that down. So someone who I didn't know had access to my apartment. I didn't know if they knew where the apartment was, but I wasn't taking any chances. So, I slept on the couch. Our couch faces the front door, and I had my gun in the holster, and I just thought, like, man, this, my daughter knows. I've been teaching her already, like, if you see this, don't touch it and tell somebody. If you ever see a gun, if you see mine, you can say, hey, Daddy, I see your gun. Oh, okay, cool. That's good. Like, good. But anyways, it was in the holster, and, that's fine or whatever. My daughter was kind of running around being rambunctious and stuff. And I was like, this isn't ideal. I don't want to have it like on my side. I just kind of wanted to have it out near me. And so I finally bought the Stopbox. I was like, this would be a great situation for that. I haven't really used it too much since I got it. But I think, like you were talking about, the conditions that you're in when you're at home watching TV, right? You might be in white at that point if you're just sitting there watching TV.
Most likely.
Yeah. I think the Stopbox is just a good way to maybe not be in white, I don't know, but I have I have a few different things that I use where I put my guns. I have a electric safe under the bed that has the like finger
biometric.
It's not biometric. It's a pattern.
Got it.
And then just a regular safe. So yeah, I bought one and I like it. I'm glad. I actually, it's a really good deal. You buy one, they basically give you a second one and a magazine holder that can be worn outside the waistband or inside the waistband. Nice. I thought that was a really good deal. So got that. And like I said, I haven't used it much, but I think on the weekends, it's good thing to have, be a good thing to have, on the coffee table when I'm watching TV and stuff.
Yeah, in my house, when I had a little one running around, all my guns would be in the safe except for my daily carry. And the same thing, I taught Bella, like, I asked her one time if she wanted to touch daddy's gun, and she said, yeah. And I made it safe and I let her look at it and then made it very clear, you don't ever touch this gun again, and I would test her, you want to touch daddy's gun? And she'd be like, yeah. And, give her a little hand slap, like, no, you don't ever touch daddy's gun again. But she started learning about guns at a very young age, and she was able to shoot them at a young age and under supervision. And there was a time to go shoot and touch guns, and then there's a time to not touch them. And would know, same thing, if you are out with your friends or you're in school and you see a gun, you get an adult.
Yeah, because I'm more worried about that scenario. Like,
Right.
I know that my home is safe.
Right.
And that she can't get to anything. I'm more worried about, when she's at a friend's house and that person or her parents aren't, they're lackadaisical about it.
Sure.
And the kid is like, hey, check this out. That's when I want her to be like, throw those flags and be like, oh, I see that. I got to tell somebody, like, whatever.
Call dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worried more about finding a gun. Children that have never been around them, they're going to want to pick them up and not understand the muzzle and the trigger and what makes it go boom.
Right.
And, not flagging things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say by age 6, Bella knew the 4 rules of firearm safety, and I would make her recite them.
Yeah.
Age 5, she had her first rifle. I think 8 or 9, she had her first pistol, right? So kids are really smart.
Yeah.
And it's something that they could get really good at. Like, shooting guns to some kids, like if you ask them, like, hey, you want to go shoot guns? They've never been around it. It would be like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Bella was around guns so much. If it wasn't her turn shooting, she'd be playing in the dirt, just being a little girl, like,
right.
And it got to the point like, hey, you want to go shoot guns or you want to go do this? Same thing. They'd rather be in the park, or watching a movie or, like guns do not faze her. There's no excitement to it with her.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. When she's shooting and shooting well, she's proud of herself.
Yeah.
But it's not like this big, like, oh, we're going to shoot guns. It's like just another part of the day.
I know. Yeah. And that was the opposite of how I was when I started shooting. I was like super excited about it.
Yeah, I was 19 the first time I did.
Okay.
When I was in the Coast Guard. Welcome to boot camp.
Yeah.
It's time to shoot some guns.
Yeah, I think I got my first one when I was like 7 or 8.
Oh, nice.
From my grandfather, a little single barrel 410. And that'll get passed down to Kalia.
Nice.
She's old enough.
What other things? Now, is your wife a gun person or not a gun person?
No. So in Hawaii, apparently, and this is coming from her, because she was very kind of like almost put off. No, I don't want to say put off, but like kind of like weirded out that I had a CCW, or that I had guns and that I was carrying. And I guess that's because over there, they, like, a lot of people don't carry guns.
Sure.
They just fight. They just throw hands. And ideally, that wouldn't be a bad deal, right? It's like, and I tried to tell her, I was like, that's not how it is over here. Like, you don't know who has what, and I don't carry a gun to get in fights with people. I carry it to protect you and Kalia. I didn't even care about having a pistol or a CCW when I was like a single guy,
right,
with no kids. It wasn't until that first drive home, bringing our daughter home from the hospital, is when I felt super vulnerable. And I said,
wow.
I need something. I need to do this. Not for me, but for her.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so then I started getting into it. And yeah, I still to this day, like if I'm going out by myself, I probably won't be carrying. You know, I know you're not.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere without it.
But yeah, anyways, so it took a while. Like I would have the guns, like I had shotguns and rifles. And I didn't have a safe at that time. But Kalia wasn't even born yet. But they would be like up in the closet somewhere, put away out of sight. And she would just be like, well, what happens if I reach for a hanger and one falls down on me and goes off and shoots me?
Right.
And she was very apprehensive about it. And I think I met her there with a lot of, I hope I met her there with a lot of grace of like, you weren't raised the same way I was, and this is safe and you're safe. And I'm just going to continue to show you throughout the years of our life that it is safe and that our daughter will be safe. And that I'm going to do a good job of making sure that she understands what to do and what not to do, and all that stuff. And so I've always been very, very good about keeping it. Like I don't let our daughter play on my side of the bed. I don't let her play in the closet. I just, I think it's pretty safe. And I think over the years she's kind of seen it lived out. And so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have to do anything now. As a matter of fact, every night I take my AR out of the safe and throw my can on it, and that's ready to go right next to the bed.
You just go from room to room. Just clearing rooms. Yeah. Hey, that's good training.
That's funny.
Yeah.
A couple other notes I have here. Unloaded firearms should be stored in a lock cabinet, safe, gun vault, or storage case. Ammunition should be stored in a locked location separate from firearms. Gun locking devices render firearms inoperable can be used in addition to locked storage. If you choose to have a gun for home defense/security, your objective should be to create a situation where the firearm is readily available to you, yet inaccessible or inoperative to others. You got your stop box, or I think Trevor has a vault, they call them. They're biometric.
Yeah.
Does your stop box have a wire rope, like if you wanted to put it in your vehicle?
I think you have to purchase that.
Okay.
And I didn't. So
I would get that just in case you ever go anywhere in a car and you can't bring your gun in. That's another law and a big no-no here, but
yeah,
I'd never like leaving firearms in my car.
I don't do that. If I know that I'm going to have to leave, if I know I'm not going to be able to carry inside somewhere, then I just leave it at home.
Yeah, if I was going, when I had my Jeep, I had a lockbox with a wire rope, and I'd put it around the frame of my seat. And if I went to a concert or if I went to court or somewhere, I would lock it in there while I was inside the building or at the show or something like that. I need to get another one of those because there are times where I go somewhere where, you can't bring it in. Very rarely,
Yeah.
But when I do, I don't like leaving or going to that place without it. It just feels, I feel weird when I go somewhere without a firearm, and it's definitely not because of fear. It's just because I like being prepared.
Yeah.
The last thing, do not make it easy. Here it is. For criminals to get your firearm, never leave your firearm in an unattended vehicle. Glove compartments and center consoles are not secure. Unless you buy an aftermarket steel one and weld it, right?
Yeah.
So, don't get that false sense of security that, my center console and my glove box is locked. It's going to be fine. Give me a screwdriver. I'll pop that thing open in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, we talked about it a little bit. I believe kids should be getting involved or being exposed to firearms at a young age. And I know your daughter's 4. I think that's old enough.
Yeah.
5, I definitely saw it with Bella. She was definitely coordinated enough and understood enough with supervision, to handle business. So when I say handle business, I mean shoot safely with a parent.
Yeah, right.
I did bring in her very first gun, which I believe is going to be your daughter's very first gun next.
Could be. Well, she technically already has a gun that I bought for her. It's a little Ruger Wrangler, little single 6 revolver.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
You said that that's a terrible idea, so.
Because you should buy this one. No, it's not a terrible idea. I think rifles are a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, it makes sense
for the smaller kids. Trying to be coordinated and hold a handgun up and get your sights lined up and use your dominant eye.
I think at the time of purchase, I really just wanted to buy the gun.
There you go, and you use your daughter as
and
an
it was
excuse.
only like $200. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you got a little one, I would highly recommend. And there's other versions of this. This is a Davy Cricket Muddy Girl camouflage edition, right? So, for a little girl, they like pink, right? This is a single shot. You load one, you put the action forward, but then you have to pull the bolt back to shoot it, right? So they have to have a little bit of strength and they pull that back and then the gun's ready to fire. Shoots one, you got to do it over again. So very safe gun. Good way for them to get started. It's got some iron sights on it.
Yeah.
We'd start at like 15 yards, nothing crazy. Let them get on paper. And
did you took her outdoor?
I haven't shot yet. I definitely took her outdoor. I haven't shot indoors personally in probably a decade and a half. Okay. I hate going inside to shoot guns. Yeah. So I took her up to Green Mill where we go.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
I took her on the LE range over there, set up a 55-gallon drum for a rest. I had a cooler in front of that for her to stand on. And then I had like a front bag, but she brought out a little plushie or a little stuffed animal.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and she was using that as a rest. So it made it fun for her. Yeah. And it made it like she was interested in doing it. And she had a little stuffed animal with her. And it was really cool. And now, I mean, she's a pretty amazing shot. She's got her own little 22 handgun, and it's a little what is it? An M&P 22. Yeah.
And she rolls too, right?
What do you mean?
She does like MMA or jiu-jitsu.
She did do jiu-jitsu there for a while, but not anymore. She did a few months, but yeah.
Okay.
So I would definitely consider this for a child. You don't have to get the Muddy Girl camo if you have a little boy. Get him something else, right? But somebody asked me the other day, was it you that asked about the AR-22s? Like, well, what's the difference?
Well, no, you sent me a picture. You said, do you want to buy one of these? And it was that one, and it was the AR-22, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if you, what the deal was, if you were selling that one or.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't have an AR-22.
Well, okay. You sent me a link. I don't know. It was a picture of it.
Oh, maybe I sent you the wrong link.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a great gun. I'll probably get that from you when I get the chance.
Get a little oil.
Well, you got to clean it first if I'm going to buy it.
Done.
Actually, make Bella clean it. Because that's another thing too. How when I started shooting, my grandfather would take me to shoot, and then he would take me home into his garage, and he would say, "Okay, now we got to clean them."
Oh yeah.
So yeah, every time I went to shoot, we had to go back and I had to run all the barrels through and all that.
I didn't have that role model. My guns get dirty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Ever since you told me that, I've been cleaning my guns a little bit less.
Yeah,
I probably over oil them anyways.
You can never have too clean of a gun. Now, I will say, as far as a long range precision rifle, you can have too clean of a barrel. Like fouling actually helps. When you buy a brand new rifle, you want to foul that barrel out a little bit to make those bullets fly a little better. But you can't have too clean of a gun. But the thing is about these modern handguns, they're all designed to run. Whether it's
right,
a SIG or a Glock or a CZ or
Taurus.
I don't know about Taurus. Yeah, I don't know about a High Point, but they're made to run. They can get dirty. I used to clean my guns every time I used them. Now I clean them like every 500 rounds. 750 would be pushing it. But just because I'm not cleaning them doesn't mean I don't oil them. So what I like to do is before I go to the range, whether my gun's been cleaned or not, it could be, I could have cleaned it last week, but if I'm going to the range, I'm going to drop some oil on it. I'm going to lubricate the parts because that's when the gun is going through the most use is when you're at the range. That's when you want it oiled to keep that dirt out of there and keep it lubricated, right? So before I go to the range or when I get there, I like to drop some CLP in it and kind of clean it up, get a little gun grease, put it on the flat surfaces, and then roll. So doing that, I'm not cleaning them, but I am keeping them a little wet. That helps.
Yeah. You like the gun grease?
On the flat surfaces.
Right. Like underneath the slide?
Yeah. So wherever the slide contacts the frame, right? That's where I put the gun grease at.
Okay. Yeah, I have some of that too. And I use it sometimes.
I just get a little Q-tip and just a little bit on those surfaces.
Yeah.
So
I just like to squeeze half of the tube out into the chamber.
There you go.
So
last thing I guess I'd like to talk about with you is hunting. In the short time that we've been friends, we actually went on a hunting trip together with SYC Colorado.
Yes, SYC.
Sick, right?
Yeah.
So SYC is Sports
Special Youth Challenges.
That's what I said. Special Youth Challenges, where it's a really good group. Our buddy Chet, he is the president, I believe, of the organization, and they take special needs kids hunting. So kids that are, could be in wheelchairs, they could be, paralyzed. They deal with a lot of, do you remember the name of that one disease?
No.
I don't either.
It's the thing is it's any sort of challenge.
Right. Could be mental health. There's a lot of physical challenges there. There are some mental challenges, but really cool group. We go out to Flagler, Colorado, and Justin, you were the guide. I was the video person.
Yeah, it should have been opposite, by the way.
Whatever.
I'll make sure that you're the guide on this next trip.
Either way, it doesn't matter. We both did both, I think. So, but it was cool, and we had our person, and we went hunting.
It was a great experience. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the next one.
What I like about it, selfishly, is it's before hunting actually starts.
Yeah.
So it's like we get a taste of hunting before hunting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love that. What's the name of that town?
Flagler.
Great little town.
Oh yeah, we saw a movie. We went to like an old school movie theater.
Yeah. And what those guys have done, designing the guns and just the whole system, like they didn't buy that from anywhere. Like they built it all.
Yep.
So
they engineered it. So basically, a lot of these kids can't shoulder a rifle, or they shouldn't. In our case, so they designed a gun stand that holds the stock and the frame. Well, actually, the muzzle, which I don't completely agree with, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
And then they have basically a trigger mechanism, and you get two switches.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
The guide holds one switch.
Well, there's also a camera.
Oh, yeah. And there's a camera mounted to the scope. So the hunter, the child, is looking at a camera instead of through the scope. He or she has a switch, and then the guide has a switch. And then both switches need to be pushed for the gun to go off. So either you'll tell the hunter, go ahead and push your button, and then the guide will push his and then the gun fires or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really kind of a genius thing.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I think they took like 4 or 6 deer. We didn't get one, but there was probably 4 deer hanging that trip.
There was a lot, yeah.
And it was just a weekend. It's just,
I think we were the only people that didn't get one.
Wow.
So we have to get one this year.
We have to.
We got to get one.
I'm just going to bring my 300 Win Mag and stay out of the blind. And when the hunter shoots, I'm going to shoot too.
Yep.
Yeah. Knock it off its feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, we got that coming up. And Justin, it's been a pleasure being your friend. I always look forward to hanging out with you and shooting, even though I throw a little bit of a fit about shooting handguns.
Oh, yeah. Well, I throw a fit when I have to work out legs. So
there you go.
We're even, or do cardio.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I'm a handgun instructor. I just don't really love shooting handguns anymore. I love shooting rifles. But Justin definitely keeps me dialed in and makes me shoot handguns.
Well, you think I'm just trying to keep you dialed in, but really, if we go out to Erie and shoot, I don't have to pay anything. So I'm just using you for free range time.
I understand. I get even on free RSO time. So it's a symbiotic relationship, like you said. But yeah, look forward. I look forward to the next time on the range. Look forward to SYC. I look forward to serving with you tomorrow at Red Rocks Church, Arvada.
Yes, absolutely.
That is it for episode 3, everybody. Thanks for listening, and thank you all for your support, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you'll have to come on again.
Absolutely.
Maybe after the hunt trip.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
All right.
See you next time.